Hi. Do you like to drink clean water? Do you like to wash your clothes with clean water? Do you like to breathe clean air? And do you like to swim in clean water? And also, do you like to wash your vegetables and your food with clean water and wash your hands with clean water? Well, me too. And that's why I'm here to talk to you about clean water and clean air and how it is that we can get there. My name is Lady Green. I have a degree in civil engineering and I'm passionate about clean water and clean air because I believe that regardless of your income, race, sexual orientation, political orientation, or any number of other factors, you deserve to have access to clean water and clean air. So, why aren't we talking about this? Well, probably why is because we need to have better marketing, honestly. That's probably the biggest thing. Like, that's what I see already just off the top of my head. So, but how do we get there? Well, that's where I come in. I can help you. Hi. Again, my name is Lady Green, and this is one of my first videos doing this. So it's a little bit awkward. So if you could work with me, that would be super duper. I'd really appreciate it. Um, so today our topic of conversation will be on green energy. So right now we're in the United States. We're doing hydraulic fracking, and what that does is that it cuts in through our bedrock using petroleum-based products and a lot of toxic substances in order to take out crude oil. One of the most notable things about hydraulic fracking is that among the the items about hydraulic fracturing or hydraulic fracturing as it's often called is, well, it has been known to create earthquakes. A part of it part of the reason why it is that it's bad, why hydraulic fracking is bad is um, well, it can all these toxic chemicals can leach into our water system. See, we don't talk about it very much, or we just really don't know. A lot of people just don't know, don't think that well. We have. So here's our top. Oh, um, here's our ground. Okay, here we are. Yay, all happy. And here's a bunch of crust and a bunch of layers, hundreds of feet down. Well, it depends on where you live. Because you could also have clay, and like clay, you might have some clay here, you might have some clay here, you might have the whole thing be clay. Or you could have sand or any number of rocks. Okay, so rocks usually, by gravity, the larger rocks are usually down at the bottom and the smaller rocks are up on top. But it also depends on how it is that they are organized and where you live. So, regardless, we still have things called water. We have what's called a hydraulic ratio through the soil. So that means that water moves through soil. And even hundreds of feet down into our soil, water moves. Okay, it might not move very quickly, it might move a foot a day, but regardless, water moves through our soil. And so fracking, by having this pipe go down thousands of feet to try and then it not only does it go down into the ground thousands of feet, but then it puts all this pressure on all of this all the way down. So that means that throughout whatever it is that they have, use a pen. So So whatever throughout everything that they have here, there's all these cracks, right? So so what's notable about it is that as a part of fracking, they often leave these toxic chemicals inside of the Earth's crust. Okay? So so what that means then is that these toxic chemicals slowly leach their way into our drinking water because so here we have our little guy, we have our little um, our pipe that has made all this pressure, and there's all these cracks coming off of it, and here we have our water going this way, okay, going through all these cracks and eventually getting to sources of water that we drink from. And so, because it's going through those cracks, it's picking up that formaldehyde and those toxic substances that big oil and gas don't usually really like to talk about, which makes sense because, like, oh yeah, toxic things. Like, well, you know, you don't really want to be able to say that your makeup is toxic or this is toxic or that your drinking water could be toxic. Like, or like we don't really like to say that because it's not positive and everything like that, but it's completely and totally necessary if we want we have to know this so that we can make sure that we're healthy. So but anyway, so the water is going through here and then it goes into a canal or anything like that because water moves across the world. Like even if we have water that's 100 feet down or 5 feet down. That doesn't mean that the water's not moving. So and sometimes it could mean that the like say through clay, water still moves through clay. Engineering wise, we say that water does not move through clay, but it does, and that's important to know because if you have your water not running, yeah, it's there's a bunch more associated with that. But at any rate, so green energy, as the name suggests, means that it's ultimately better for our environment. You have more, it's the green energy means that you're able to build more plant life. Overall, you can have an energy output without having so much waste put into the environment. It depends on what kind of technology that is, but say for instance electric cars, the total output that they put out in terms of say in terms of greenhouse gases and um, and any kind of uh, unburnt up crude oil that gets onto the pavement and then gets into our groundwater by runoff through runoff. So runoff is like it rains and then the water gets on the pavement and then the water goes elsewhere and carrying off whatever it is that's on the pavement. That's what runoff is. It's important to know, and that's how it is that it eventually gets into our drinking water and where it is that we brush our teeth and there are all those things like that. So, but green energy, meanwhile, means that the the amount of if it's much more efficient. You have a whole lot less things going up into the air. You have, like, as in toxic things going up into the air. You have less toxic things going into your onto your roads and eventually into your water system. So that means that you can have more plants, maybe healthier plants, more oxygen, healthier uh, cleaner air, cleaner water. You could have more animals. Like your animals aren't just dying like the oysters right now as the as the globe warms up. The oysters in the in the Mexico Ocean. What is that called? It's like um so as as the waters heat up, even just by a degree or half a degree, it can do a lot of damage to wildlife, and a lot of our wildlife is in most of our wildlife actually is in the ocean. Um, but off the coast of Mexico, oh, Mexico Gulf Coast. In the Gulf Coast of Mexico, we have a lot of oysters and things like that that are literally dying because the water heated up by 1 degree. This is serious. That means that those are things, or like this also includes like things like crabs. These are things like actual crabs, and these are things and oysters and whatever. Like these are animals that we get nutrients from, we eat, and like with like we get pearls from, is it oysters or clams? It's clams, I think. Um, so those things, those mussels, they need to have the water be a certain temperature. They're not just gonna poop like that. Oh, I can just no. Like evolution takes a long period of time for them to be okay with even just a small change like 1 degree. So another thing is that if it's healthy for the environment, it's healthy for ourselves. The system is a cyclical cycle. That means that what we put out into the environment comes back around, and what we put out into the environment comes back around. And right now, what's happening is essentially an environmental, I guess, becoming more concentrated. So we're having higher environmental concentrations of these toxic chemicals going into our air. Depending on where you live, they might be more or less. Again, depending on what kind of things that your government or uh, what your government or the local government or state or whatever is doing in order to make sure that there is clean, uh, that there is green energy occurring. And I've heard over and over again that those who are putting in green energy like solar and wind and doing electric cars and reduce, reuse, recycle, and all of those things. There's way more to that, and I'd love to get into more details on that. But the more that they do those things, the more they have clean air and water. Like, isn't that amazing? That's great. Like, how is it? As a part of clean air and water, like just the other day, I there was this huge truck, and I'm sitting at the intersection. This huge truck. It was, not it's not commercial truck, and the guy just like puts on his accelerator and goes through the intersection and leaves a big black dust. Like not dust. It wasn't dust. It was definitely not dust. It was a big plume of smoke. It was so disgusting. And I was I, it was humbling because it really made me think about principles and morality that they don't. It's like you care. It tells me that the drivers of that car, they care about their health. They want to be able to breathe cool air that they're getting in from the outside coming in, but they don't want to deal with the big plume of smoke that they just left behind. That is what's called a jerk. Like, that's not a nice thing to do. Uh, and regardless of how nice your truck looks, I'm sorry, that is not attractive. It's not an attractive thing to do. It's not healthy. It's not healthy for anybody. And it's not good. It's dumb. Uh, so green energy creates jobs. Green energy creates jobs. There There's jobs in solar power and wind power. You need people to design, build, and manage these energies. Eh. You need people to design, build, and manage these energies, as well as selling them and uh, and managing the profits and getting your business set up. This is a really good opportunity for us to start this. Right now, crude oil, it's a dying industry, and we can tell because of the desperate attempt to get more crude oil by fracking, but ultimately fracking is just really bad for us. Like I have said before, and how it is that it's bad for our water systems. Oh yes, so fracking. One of the key things about fracking is that they will leave the fracking, the things that they use for fracking, all these toxic things in the crust. So water moves, and that's like, and it uses a lot of water and a lot of this of these chemicals, because the reason why it is that they use these chemicals is that it kind of changes how it is that the fluid is able to interact with the rock, right? So it's almost like, so they want to kind of create something like a freeze thaw effect. So, and in order to do that, in order to get all this pressure built up into the rock, they have to be able to change the water composition and how it is that the water acts. But just because you change the water composition and how the water acts does not mean that we need to be ingesting that stuff and having that stuff inside of us, regardless of um, of other people saying, well, there's formaldehyde in ramen noodles, and so a little bit of formaldehyde in hydraulic fracking isn't really that bad. But the honest thing is that don't even start that. It's like, oh, we're poisoning your water system, but it's not that bad. You're not dead yet. Hello? You're not dead yet. Like, great. So, so green energy also helps us have safe drinking water and clean air. And overall, the more that we have, the more that we have clean energy and clean air, the more we'll be able to, the more that we do clean energy systems, the more that we'll have clean air and clean water. Oh, and this is my puppy. She's super sweet. Hi, can you say hi? Hi. Okay. So, in conclusion, green energy is good for everybody. And it's good for humans, it's good for animals, it's good for the air, it's good for our water. These are very important things. These are very, very important things to have. And they should not be taken lightly. Over time, it's like we're having our clean air and clean water taken away, but we can change that. We can change that. We need to make sure that we are doing the things that are healthy for us. It's something similar to not eating a bunch of sugar every day, because it's making that healthy choice of saying, okay, well, we can do things that are good for us. So, I'm Lady Green, and my subject has been green energy. Please like my video and subscribe for more, and I will talk to you later. Peace.